Welcome to Women's Sports Weekly, where women's sports happen every day, but we talk about it once a week. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Carolyn. Women's Sports Weekly is a podcast where we discuss the latest news, explore interesting stories, and share our love for women's sports. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at WomensSportsWeeklyPod. Follow us and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Send us an email at WomensSportsWeeklyPod@gmail.com, and we may feature your email on the Listener Experience Zone, the Les.
This week, we are going to be back with Run Club, and we are excited. This Thursday, 6 p.m. at the 99ers Sports Bar. We will run 3 miles, and then after that, we typically hang out at the bar. If you are listening right now, you can share this secret word with the bartenders for 50% off your first draft. In light of Pride Weekend being this past weekend, the secret word this week is flamingo.
And if you were at X Bar, you know what it means. Those flamingos are everywhere.
They sure are.
Give me a rating on how you're feeling right now from a scale of 1 to 10.
A 0.
A 0.
Yep. Pretty tired. Pretty rough.
We are still recovering from Pride Weekend this past weekend. We want to get into it because Pride is so fun. We just had a really, really amazing time. So let's talk about it. So on Friday, we were back on the East Coast for a wedding in Pennsylvania. Tell us about it.
Yeah. Congrats, Laura and Tim. Laura is one of my best friends, and we went to college together, played basketball. She's a listener of the pod, which we love. Laura and Tim, I went to college with both of them. It was really exciting to celebrate them on Friday night. Beautiful wedding, and just so happy for them.
It was beautiful. They both looked great, and we had a lot of fun. Like, lots of dancing happened.
Yep.
There was an ice cream truck.
Ooh, so good.
So good. It was the start of our Pride Weekend, and it was nice to start with some love. Even if it was straight love, it was beautiful.
Yeah, and it was nice. We started out in Philly, spent some time with Tommy and Erica, and went to the wedding together. But because it was Pride Weekend, we did make the decision that we were going to fly home Saturday morning because the wedding was Friday night, so that we can celebrate Pride in Denver. Was it worth it? Yes. Are we suffering from our marathon of a weekend? Also, yes.
And you need to tell the listeners who Tommy and Erica are.
Yes. Erica, my best friend, went to college with both of them as well. It's always fun seeing friends back on the East Coast.
So we fly back early in the morning on Saturday from Philly back to Denver. Did we nap?
You tried. I did not even lay down because too much to do around the house in preparation for having people over before going out.
There was just too much excitement. I couldn't get myself. I'm usually, if I don't nap often, but when I do, I can usually go down, but I could not do it on Saturday. So we cleaned up our house and then had some friends come over before going out for the night for Pride Weekend.
Yes. So much fun. I was bartender D.
You were bartender
and making
D.
all the drinks, which I enjoy doing. I just love a good pregame, and I thought the pregame, that was definitely one of my favorite parts of the weekend, just hanging out. We finally got to hang out in our backyard, which we worked so hard on keeping in good condition, so that was a lot of fun. Then we went out to a bar. We had tickets for an event. We saw the DJ from our wedding, DJ Sin, shout out. She was one of the DJs that night, so it was cool to see her and say hi, and a lot of dancing happened on Saturday night.
Yeah, and it was a queer women event. It was cool because we've gotten tickets before during Pride Weekend, and then we've also done it where we haven't gotten tickets. And it was just really cool because we got tickets for this and it wasn't too crowded. It was like just the right amount of people. Everyone was happy. Vibes were great. Saw a lot of people we knew out, which was awesome. We just danced a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was the latest I've been out in quite a long time. We had late night pizza, which, wow, couldn't tell you the last time I've done that either, but
worth it.
So good. And just nice to spend extra time with friends who were out with us. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, Sunday morning, we were not feeling too hot.
We actually had our friends Lex and Sarah. They stayed over at our house, which really is all I want in life, are like adult sleepovers. They're just so much fun when you're all coming back to the house. We sat around the table. We're eating a little bit more before we went to bed. Like, that's what I love. But yeah, stayed up till 3 a.m. Woke up on Sunday feeling pretty horrible, but Pride must go on. And the Pride Parade was happening Sunday.
Which we barely made because you were moving in slow motion on Sunday.
I was moving in slow motion, and I didn't think I was going to make it through the day. I was like, I think I can make it to the parade, but like everything after that, is a question mark. And we had plans of brunch. I rallied.
You did. We all did. We went to brunch at Champagne Tiger and they had a drag show and it was so good. So much fun. I just love drag shows so much. They are the most fun events you could possibly go to. It was just a party.
Drag queens are pretty much my favorite part of Pride every year. We see them outside of Pride as well. Mm-hmm. But I just hope for a lot of rest for drag queens in July because we're enjoying Pride, but they're doing like multiple shows a day. They are just going hard and it is probably their busiest weekend of the year and they're working incredibly hard and they're so incredibly talented and we just get to soak in their awesomeness and it makes my Pride so special anytime that we get to go to a drag brunch and have fun with them.
It was really great. But yeah, the party continued after that.
Oh, it did. So once, again, we're not big partiers, but once I got a Bloody Mary in me at Champagne Tiger, I was like, all right, baby, I'm back. Yep. Let's go. It is scary how that works.
Yep.
That the only way to feel better after drinking is to continue to drink the next day. Like that is not okay.
No, it's not.
It's very scary, but we did it. And then we went to X Bar, which is where you'll see all the flamingos. It's a gay bar in Denver. And we had a Sunday fun day.
We sure did.
We had so much fun. I looked over at Lex at one point and I was like, my ankles are hurting. I am getting old. These ankles just supporting up my body for this whole weekend. We've been out really late. We were at a wedding on Friday. I was wearing heels. We were dancing. We were out on Saturday. I was dancing. We were standing all day on Sunday. And I'm like, my ankles are hurting. And then a couple hours later, I looked down. My ankles blew up.
Yeah, they were extremely swollen. It was concerning.
I was wearing my Birkenstocks as every good lesbian does during Pride weekend. They put on their Birkenstocks and my little sausage feet were flipping through, coming out the sides of the straps of the Birkenstocks. I'm just trying to really create a visual for people.
It wasn't cute.
It was not cute. The cankles were cankling, but you got to do it for Pride.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. Wouldn't change it. Even though I am very tired right now.
And then we ended the night. We ended our Sunday going and getting dinner at one of our favorite places for tacos, which is Dos Santos in Denver. And it was like very calm and a very good way to end it. But we both sound horrible right now.
Yeah, my voice is struggling. So apologies for the way our voices sound today.
We're doing it. Another Pride weekend in the books. 2 years ago was the Pride that I taught a yoga class at Red Rocks. And so I didn't sleep that night before because I was so nervous. And then we had friends in town and we went out hard that weekend. And I was like, whoa, that was really intense for a Pride weekend. Last year we went out, same thing, but it wasn't as crazy. This past weekend felt, I don't know, the craziness level was high and our age is getting higher. So it just gets compounded together. But yeah, it was a lot on the body, both physically and emotionally.
Yes, for sure.
Why do you find it so important to celebrate Pride?
I think having a lot of the rights we have to marry and things like that, that is still fairly new. Like
10 years old.
10 years old as of the other day. I feel like our rights are under attack a lot, especially with what's happening in our country right now. To have a weekend to be in our community and celebrate what we deserve, which everyone deserves, is love, and to just enjoy your love and live free.
And
that's
to be
important.
Yourself.
And to feel like I could totally be myself. So yes, it's a party, but it's also, it's important, right? To be in that community and to celebrate. I'm not doing it justice for how I'm explaining it, but it's just nice that we get to do that every year.
For sure.
How about you?
There's a few pieces. So one is community. I think being in community this past weekend, it just means a lot to me personally. I just love that we can go out during Pride weekend. And this has a little bit to do with my own internalized homophobia. Like when we're around a lot of straight people, when we're in straight spaces, showing you any type of affection, I'm less likely to do so because I feel like I'm getting watched. And you may be listening and be like, no one's watching you. But it's happened before where people have made comments. And so on top of like my own feelings about it, it actually has happened to us where we've gotten negative comments when we've shown public displays of affection. So I love that during Pride, it's like we're with queer community. We can be truly ourselves and love each other in a way that we want to in that moment and no one's even batting an eye.
Yeah.
We're not a spectacle to anyone. Although probably at some point on Saturday night, we did turn into a spectacle with how we were acting.
I think everyone was on the same page.
Yeah, we were just dancing. But yeah, I really like that part. And then I think a theme in my life has been really stepping into myself, exactly who I am. And Pride, I believe, provides that opportunity to do that. It was interesting because my mom reached out to us this past weekend and was like, okay, what are you doing tonight? And I could tell she was nervous in her voice. I was like, okay, we're going out here. And she was like, okay, just be careful. Mm-hmm. And when my dad was alive, he would say that all the time. My dad took me to my first Pride parade in New York, but he was always like, if you get a bad feeling, you have to be careful. And unfortunately, it's the world we live in. And I could tell my mom was worried, but like, I do think, especially now, if you have the privilege and you are able to be able to step in it and say, I am scared, but I am going to go out and I'm going to go to a gay bar, or I am scared and I am going to go to the Pride parade, even though people do insane things and you could get hurt or if someone could die. That happens, unfortunately, in this country. But I do think my voice sometimes can feel small. Like I can't post on Instagram about how important Pride is because feel like sometimes it's going nowhere, but like I can show up with my body. And I do think bodies and presence have not only effect on the people in our community who need to see us right now, especially our trans and non-binary friends need to know that other people in the LGBTQ community have their back and allies have their back. Like, one, I think that's so important. And then two, I do think hetero straight people need to see masses of people that look very different from each other out celebrating Pride. Like, I just think it's important for those reasons too.
Yeah, totally.
So that was really long-winded. So if you've never gone or you're nervous to go, I would highly encourage you to step into it. And I think some great things could happen.
I agree.
All right, let's get into some sports. Let's get into the highlight reel for this week. What do you have for us, Dee?
Yes, let's do it. Going to start off with some rugby. The Denver Onyx, we talked about them a few weeks ago when we went to their game. They won the inaugural Women's Elite Rugby Championship. So shout out to the Onyx. They beat the New York Exiles 53-13 over the weekend. So it was an absolute beatdown.
I love it. We saw them play live and we're like, they're very good. And they're just continuing to prove that they're very good. We've got some great women's teams in Denver, and the Denver Onyx are definitely one of them.
Yeah, so congrats to them on that win.
Let's head over to the WNBA. We've got lots to talk about. There are 3 more expansion teams that were announced for the WNBA. Those teams will be located in Cleveland in 2028, Detroit in 2029, and Philadelphia in 2030. You have not stopped yawning.
I'm so sorry.
Will we ever recover?
No.
Okay, this is big news though, Danielle. So how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm a little annoyed, to be honest. Not that I had high hopes for Denver after when the commissioner came a few years ago. We knew it wasn't going to happen. I'm very happy for our Philly friends. I think Philly is a great spot for a team. Cleveland, can't say the same. When we were there for the Women's Final Four, not my favorite place. I'm like, sorry to anyone who lives in Ohio. I don't know what the fan base is going to look like for women's sports, but I guess they've done their research. And then Detroit, I've never been, so I can't say anything negative or positive about Detroit. I've heard good things, but I'm just bummed Denver is not getting a team.
Cleveland has a great men's sports support, but I don't know if that necessarily translates. I'll be curious to see. This is the thing. I'm hopeful for all 3 of these cities, and there is a ton of pressure right now, and it sucks for women's sports to be successful. Mm-hmm. And if there wasn't a success for some reason, you know what the media narrative is going to be. It's going to be so annoying. And I'm like, okay, like you said, I hope they did their research and they know that they're going to have a fan base there, because we see Golden State knocking it out of the park in how they show up. And I also just want to say that Golden State has done so well of leaning into their LGBTQ fan base. And that is such a reason why it's doing so well. And so I hope other WNBA teams are taking note, as much as like we want all fans to be supportive of the WNBA, but the WNBA was built on the backs of queer women of color, and that should be the market that we're leaning into. And I think Golden State has done that so well, and that's why they're seeing the success they have. So I hope everyone else is taking note. But I am happy for Philadelphia. Yeah. And as someone from New Jersey who's a New York sports fan, it is difficult for me to say that, but I do think they're going to be successful in Philly.
Same. So I'm excited for them there.
All right, let's also talk about DeWanna Bonner, who was recently waived from the Indiana Fever. And waived is an interesting word because usually waived happens to players who are usually young and new, and it means that they weren't good enough to be on the team. This is not what happened with DeWanna Bonner. She was not participating in games since the middle of June for personal reasons, and then it came out that she did not want to stay with the Indiana Fever.
And that honestly makes me sad because I'm like, something not great was going on that you just stopped playing.
Yeah.
Like someone who's been in the league for so many years, has records, like obviously she was not happy there, and we don't know the full story, but it does make me sad for her.
There's a lot of speculation happening, but like it is strange. Obviously she's not with her fiance Alyssa Thomas, but that was not the main reason why. They both have had to talk about this and have the conversation. I'm sure there was a lot of planning that went into this. And so I'm like, what has happened here? And I hope that wherever she lands, that we do get more of the story, or I don't know, something from Indiana, because this is very strange. This is very strange. She has said publicly that she doesn't want just any team to pick her up because there are some teams who have some salary cap space to pick her up, Connecticut being one. I believe the Valkyries might have some space, but she has said that she either wants to go to Phoenix, where Alyssa Thomas is, or to Atlanta. Maybe by the time this podcast comes out, she'll have landed somewhere, but it'll be very interesting. And we're also at a point of the season where like Phoenix especially, and Atlanta's doing great too, but everyone's kind of found their groove. I mean, you're never going to say no to DeWanna Bonner, but like, where do you slot in? And then how does that affect the locker room in any way? So those are some big questions that are going to be answered. And someone's going to say, we'll handle the locker room. We're taking DeWanna Bonner. Great.
Yeah.
So we'll keep our eyes on that and see where she lands.
Wishing her good luck with figuring that out.
Yes, agreed. We also have to talk a little bit more about the media because this past week, Danielle just yawned again. We, this past week, had 3 different men approach us and say something about the WNBA in a strange way. 2 out of the 3 were like, what is the brawl that happened in the WNBA? And I was like, what are they talking about? And then one person was like, why does my TikTok algorithm tell me that I should hate everyone in the WNBA except Caitlin Clark? That's literally what someone said to me, who does not watch. He doesn't watch any sports at all, but he definitely doesn't watch a lot of WNBA, if any. And I was like, this is so interesting. Like there's something happening where men are getting fed this story, a strange story.
And I don't think it's just men. I just think it's, if people aren't actually watching the WNBA, our algorithm is not that, because we know the we know the players, we like so many of the players. But for Caitlin Clark being the person who brought people in more, now this narrative turned into she is saving the WNBA and holds it on her back, and everyone's rude to her. So it is very interesting.
Yeah, and let's just talk about this brawl that happened. They're referring to a physical game, and now this is like 2 weeks ago, of referring to a physical game between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun, where JC Sheldon was guarding Caitlin Clark, poked her in the eye. Caitlin Clark got upset, like for good reason. Marina Mabry comes over and kind of shoves Caitlin Clark, and she goes down. And then that kind of dissipates. Later in the game, though, Sophie Cunningham, who plays for the Indiana Fever, committed a flagrant foul against JC Sheldon, and they went at it a little bit. But teammates came out, separated them. It was fine. We have this conversation a lot. Are people physical with Caitlin Clark? Yes. I think it's the scouting report on her. She doesn't like to get too physical. She's going to get annoyed. And when you're thinking about how to beat the Indiana Fever, you're thinking about how to control Caitlin Clark and then hope that Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston don't just go off like they have been, which they have. And so that's the scouting report. So are people physical with her? Yes. Are players trying to hurt Caitlin Clark? No. Like unequivocally, no. I don't know any players, and honestly, the players who try to hurt other players should be removed, and that's in any sport.
Yeah.
I have not seen that. Caitlin Clark is one of the best players in the league. Every night that she plays someone, she's going to get the best defense that they've done probably all season.
Yeah.
So to our men who listen, and we know we have you, talk to your men friends, because my friend came up to me and he was like, my algorithm, this is what I get. And I was like, that's so interesting because my algorithm doesn't look like that at all. Mm-hmm. There's more stories out there. There's lots of fun stories out there between players and how they interact with each other. So talk to your other men friends about what really happens in the WNBA, how it really works. And I know it's exhausting, and it's exhausting for us to talk about it. I feel like we talk about it a lot, but I do think we need to continue, even though it's very frustrating, because if we're not telling the story, then clickbait media is going to tell the story, and it's not a story I want to be a part of. It's just not fun. So we're going to keep saying, yes, the WNBA is physical. And if we don't want it to be as physical, we can't look at the players because they're playing in the system that they're working in. We have to start looking at our referees.
Yep.
And that should be the focus. If you don't like the physicality, then that's the focus. How do we then prepare our referees so it's not that type of an environment where things continue to escalate? But I do think we just all have to examine our algorithms too. What story are you being told in your algorithm? Whether it's about the WNBA or about politics or whatever. What's the story you hear? And me included, we all have to be like, okay, that's the story I'm getting. And some of it's true and some of it is not. Just really blanket. The story that I get on my Instagram, my personal Instagram, some of it is true and some of it is not. And it's made for me and it's feeding me based on what I'm clicking on.
Yep.
So I just think we all have to probably keep that in mind as well. And then, just talk to your friends. Okay, let's get into a rare men's highlight on Women's Sports Weekly.
Yeah, this was definitely an interesting and cool thing that we saw happen.
We have to talk about the New York Knicks. So the New York Knicks reportedly are looking at Dawn Staley to be their head coach. Dawn Staley is the coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks women's team. She's been the coach since 2008. Her winning percentage is better than 75%.
Wow.
At South Carolina. She's led South Carolina to 3 national championship wins, as well as 7 Final Four appearances. And the Knicks are in the market for a coach, and apparently she's on the short list. If you were Dawn Staley, would you even consider this offer?
I don't think Dawn Staley will, because she has such a great setup at South Carolina. She loves coaching those women, it seems like. And I can't imagine her leaving South Carolina. I feel like that's where she likes to live. And I'm sure she'd make a lot more at the Knicks, but I feel like she's making enough to be comfortable. In my opinion, I don't think she would leave South Carolina for this opportunity. What about you?
Yeah, it was interesting because the article I read, they were like, could Dawn Staley do it? And I was like, 3,000%.
Oh my God, that is not where my head went. I would be like, does she want to do it?
Exactly. And I was like, that's so interesting. Again, media, that's the spin that they put on it. And I was like, no, would Dawn Staley even want to do this? And like you said, she has such a great setup at South Carolina. I also think going to New York, first of all, we see how people treat women coaches, especially women coaches of color. In the WNBA, they're not even treated well. What makes anyone think in the NBA that would be any different? And New York is a really difficult market. So yeah, that would not be my top choice right now if I was Dawn Staley. You know what I would consider if I was Dawn Staley?
What?
Philly WNBA team.
Yeah, that I could see. For sure.
It would be a homecoming for her. But it is cool. I do think the Knicks should look for someone like Dawn Staley. If I was looking for coaches, I'd be like, who are you inspired by? And if they didn't have Dawn Staley on their list, I probably wouldn't want to hire them because she does a great job. But yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think you could get Dawn if you wanted her. But there's probably a price tag for everybody, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe for the right amount of money.
Yeah. So we'll see if they actually go through with it and give her an offer, but I'll be curious to see what happens. All right. We are going to pause real quick to do a quick ad for ourselves. If you are listening, please rate and subscribe to our podcast. We love putting it together. We do everything ourselves. So any follows, likes, shares means a lot to us. Share the podcast with at least one other person who doesn't know about us so that we can continue to grow. We create, produce, and edit the podcast ourselves, so any support is helpful. And if you take a screenshot of your 5-star rating and send it to us on Instagram, Carolyn will send you a sticker, a Women's Sports Weekly sticker.
I'm sending my first international sticker out.
Yes.
I might have sent a couple to Canada. I think I have. But this one's going to Europe.
Yes.
Which is really
Someone from Europe
exciting.
reached out. So we love it. We love to see who we're reaching. So we appreciate people reaching out to us and letting us know.
Let's get into what we're looking forward to this week.
Yes. What do you have for us?
The U.S. women's national team takes on Canada in what they are calling a friendly, but is never a friendly, when the U.S. plays Canada today, July 2nd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on TNT and True TV. The U.S. is coming off 2 dominant wins over Ireland this past week, so this is definitely going to be a match you are going to want to watch.
It's exciting.
What about you, Dee? What do you got?
So I'm going to switch gears to the WNBA. This Thursday, July 3rd, the Atlanta Dream plays the Seattle Storm. If you've been listening, you know these are our 2 teams. They play at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and you can catch that game on League Pass. The last time they played, the Dream won, and I better get the Storm to win this next game because Carolyn and I have a little bet going on this series. And then in the standings, Atlanta is currently at 4 and the Seattle Storm are the number 5 seed. So it's going to be a close matchup.
After you saw what I did with the taquitos this weekend, do you still want me to make you meals if you happen to win this? Uh-oh, she's yawning again, everyone. It's the 25th yawn.
You're going to have to put a lot of effort into a good meal. Yes.
This past weekend, I had the job of making some happy hour treats for our
guests. It's not making it. They're pre-made. All you had to do was put them in the oven. So let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
And the taquitos were cold and had to go back in the oven like twice more before they were servable. And I did serve them to my friends. And then Lex was like, this is cold in the middle.
Yep.
So good luck if you do happen to win this bet. But right now, the Atlanta Dream are up 1-0. So we'll see what happens in this matchup. That's it for this week. We will see you next week on Women's Sports Weekly. In the meantime, watch women's sports and share the podcast with your friends. Rate and subscribe to the pod on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Time to go to bed, Dee.